Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video is going to give a quick little tour of my ASIC little farm here I have in the garage down here in hot ass Florida. Going to talk about how many units I have, what I have going on, what this weird monstrosity looking thing is over here. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about how well it's been doing and why it's set up the way it is. Okay, that sounds good guys. Stay tuned. Let's get to it. So just to give a quick little tour, this is the little tank card rig, the lone surviving rig of GPUs I have that have been here for about 3 years. This guy is down here. Up here we have the Molt Miner FPGA that is now disconnected just because it's no longer profitable. And up here are the ASICs. The ASICs, the big standout, they're all on AC Infinity fans. That's what those big monstrosity looking things are. So we have the HS3 here first, KS3M is next, the K7 and the KA3 at the end. Okay. So let's talk about this weird ass cooling setup that is not ideal, right? This isn't really ideal. It's not really setup that I would recommend, but I am just working with what I have, okay? So you can see here the big exhaust fans. They are two 2000 CFM fans that are up there exhausting into the attic, which is not recommended. A reason being is if my situation is a little bit different. So the way my setup is a two-story house. The garage is in front with nothing above it. It just has its own little attic. So the attic is separate from the main house. So because of that, I don't have to worry about hot air escaping into the house, right? So if you have a single-story house, you have a garage in front, you wouldn't ideally want to do this because that hot air is going to creep into the house, and especially if you're in a hot climate, that is no bueno, okay? So in my case though, it is separate, so I do exhaust there. The soffits are ventilated, but I do have 4 additional vents that go along the side to help exhaust all that hot air out. Okay, so that's where the main exhaust is set up. As far as the ASICs go, again, another thing that's not ideal is the location of these things. Okay, so I have the exhaust fans there because again, that's the attic crawl space, and I just decided to use that for easy placement of the fans. So I don't have to cut any of the drywall just because, again, this is an experiment. I don't want anything permanent. So because of that, though, that's the reason I have these ASICs set up the way I do, which, again, is not ideal because the intake, which is over here, is near this wall. Ideally, you do not want anything kind of obstructing it or blocking it. You want maximum airflow. But this was the best way to maximize the amount of space here because technically I could flip the shelf around or have these things going the other way and then having the 90-degree elbow over here, but then the shelf would be like in the middle of the garage, right? I do not want to have that. The other thing I could do also is just flip the ASICs around, have the exhaust also going up still, but just using foam board to separate it and like box it all in, okay? So I could do that. I may do that if the temps weren't where I wanted them to be. I would try to maximize it, but realistically, it's working fine, so I don't really have a need for that. But again, this isn't something that would be super ideal, but it does work. Okay, so the intake is here. On these do not have fans here. I just have a mesh filter going there. There is enough negative pressure that I just presses it nice and gets there. And you can see the AC Infinity fan is on the exhaust side, which is something that's different. So there is a 3D printed shower. These things are 30 bucks. I'll have a link in the description if you are interested. They're not affiliate links, it's just the dude I bought them from. So they are there, AC Infinity fan there, and then a 90-degree elbow that is going into those big exhaust fans. Okay, so this is another thing I could maximize. I could use foam board to completely separate, right? I could fully enclose the exhaust side, have a foam board sheet here, one going there, and kind of an L above the intake and just separate completely the intake air and the exhaust air, that way nothing escapes. Because although I do have it pointed up there, I'm sure it's not getting all of it, some of it is escaping, but the temps are nice and cool where I want them to be, which is under 75C for the bit mates. Okay, I think the shutoff temp is like 85, but ideally my goal target was 75, and they stay in the low 70s, which is pretty good considering the freaking ambient temp here. Okay, the ambient temp right now currently in the garage is 105, 106. Those seen it go as high as like about 108. Currently it's about midday here. Today the high is going to be about 95 here down in the Tampa area. And it is hot as hell. But even with that extreme ambient temperature, things are still cool because again, it's airflow. The biggest thing, word of advice that I've gotten and I will pass on also that has been the key difference maker is airflow, 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 airflow over everything. Get as much airflow as you can because you can always tune it down if need be, right? So pretty much maximize what you can, maximize your intake, maximize your exhaust, Have it all the way set up, because that way you can always tune it down and tune accordingly. If you want to find that balance of the intake and exhaust, right? But you have to have that airflow. That's the most important thing. Even with having super high ambient temp, it is still possible to keep those temps nice and cool where you need them to be. Okay, this is now the second summer with these ASICs. Was a little bit worried adding the KS3M because I got that guy in the winter. This is going to be its first summer. So far, the temps are holding very well, actually. Okay, so just some couple words of advice there. Again, this is not a super ideal setup. I'm just working with what I got. There are things I can do, but I think once I have a more permanent plan in place, right now I've been flip-flopping back and forth what I'm going to do. If I'm going to add more GPUs, which I probably will, probably add another 2 rigs here. But I think I'm going to probably stay ASIC for quite a while. My farm will probably be majority ASIC from here on out. Right? So we'll see how things go, but currently that's probably going to end up being the plan just because it's what it is, right? It's most profitable, it's doing its thing. Right now prices are still decent. That's probably what my focus will be. As far as the GPUs go, they are a lot cooler. They're a lot easier to cool down, right? So I have them in just AAA waveframe cases. And I do have just a box fan behind it, just pushing the air through it. I know a lot of you guys like using like the PC case fans and stuff. They don't do shit, right? It's a lot easier to just spend 20 bucks on a box fan, throw it behind it, and it'll outperform any of those things, right? Not spend all that money on those. I am currently on iron. I'm using unminable into a lithium. You can see here the temps are still in the mid-60s Celsius, which is pretty good considering we're 105 Fahrenheit. The one with the highest temp is this guy back here, which does have a dud fan that needs to get replaced, which was a replacement, but that replacement was a dud, so got to send it back to get another one. I do got to order more replacements in general, right? So it's always good to have extra parts on hand. But as far as cooling goes, these suckers are pretty easy. There's only 10 of them, so it's not really that big of a deal. Ideally, if I was going to get more of these things, I would probably look into like server cases, but realistically, probably the most I'll have anytime soon is maybe an additional 2 of these rigs, right? And I'll just set them here right next door. So realistically, if I planned on going 100% GPU or going crazy, but again, I only have 3 30-amp circuits, may add 1, maybe 2 more ASICs. We'll see what happens with this guy. But as far as cooling what I got, again, the biggest thing I'll say is just airflow, airflow, airflow. Everybody's setup is going to be different. You just got to maximize what you got and do what you can, right? But even those of us with hot ambient temps, guys, it is still possible to have these AC Infinity fans are a lot quieter. Currently, you can still hear the whining a bit just because I've been doing an experiment on one of them. It's the K7. And kind of messing around to see if it works well having the AC Infinity fan as well as some of the fans on there, which by the way, it does not. So it's best to go one way or the other, but the AC Infinity fans have definitely been proven. Two of these guys are over 2, they're going on 3 years old now. They're from the GPU 10 setup and they're still running, right? So they run cooler than the stock fans. They are just better overall, right? So again, airflow over everything for me. That's what I tend to prioritize. But wanted to give you an update, guys. I know I don't really post a lot because again, it's not very much going on here. 4 ASICs and a little 10-card rig isn't a whole lot, so it's not super exciting. I like seeing more like RPM setup when you see a lot of those, just because it gives you more like goals essentially, right? Again, I'm a small fry. This is what it is. That's it, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys are doing. How are you guys holding up in this heat? I know certain places it's not as hot yet. Here, though, we've been summer temps for like a month and a half already. So here, we've already been definitely feeling it. And it's only going to get hotter. But let me know how you guys are doing, especially for those of you in extremely hot climates. Also, maybe not as humid, maybe like Vegas, Phoenix, Texas, etc. Let me know if you guys are struggling, what you guys are doing to cope with it, or are you guys chilling? You guys figure out something else out. But again, guys, the main thing is just airflow. Get as much air in, much air out as possible, and should be good to go, right? You can always tweak things. Again, there's a lot of things I can do here to optimize, but currently, until I finalize my setup, this is going to be what it is. I think if the temps were struggling a bit more, I would do the foam board thing, but realistically, it's fine. Even if it's hot in here, this is the workout setup. It's like where the home gym is, so I'm just gonna sweat a little bit more than usual. So again, guys, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys are doing, how you guys are holding up. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching, guys. And I am out.